Welcome to the Curiosity Show. Hush! Because that's the trouble with an invisible dog. You can't see that they're going to bark. You have to wait till they made the sound, and then, of course, they've caused a disturbance. Well, invisible or not, that's still a puppet. A puppet's anything you control with sticks or fingers or something like that to give the illusion of life. Wouldn't you say that's so? A bit later in the show, we're going to show you how to make a foam puppet on the end of a leash. Now you might well have come across these little characters before. They're little foam puppets. They're sold at shows and places like that, in the form of foam lizards or puppies or any sort of thing really, and they can rear and move about and wag their tails and walk, and they're controlled by wires that you hold in your hand, just stiff wires that go to the neck. Well, they're easily bought, but they're more easily made, and this is how you do it. You just need scrap foam and pieces of wire. Let's start with the wire, because this is the sort of wire that goes inside their legs. It's ordinary flexible galvanized gardening wire. It doesn't have to be that, of course, but something that's easily bent, and the first thing you do is to bend it straight. Be careful with this. You need fairly long bits and they can whip around, so don't get it in your eyes. Now, you have to pass that down the legs, so let's put a hook on one end. That stops it pulling through the foam. A pair of pliers will do that, and that's the hooky bit. Take the non-hooky bit at the other end and make sure it hasn't got a kink in it. If it has, just cut it off so it's ready to be pushed through the foam. Okay, that's ready. Now we go to the foam. Well, this is the sort of foam I'm using. It's an old piece of scrap packing foam, and I'm going to cut for the legs a piece which is square in cross-section. If I turn that round, you can see that. Roughly square will do, but that gives you the idea. Something about that size. And this will just be a short demonstration model, so there we go, along to there, and cut it off like that. Well, you get the wire and you start at one end of the foam, and it's very much like pushing a cord through your pyjama pants. Poke it in, you'll find it crunches up the foam and drives like a needle all the way up that foam column. And you keep doing that until the foam is all scrunched up and you can't push it anymore. Then you just pull the foam down, just like the old pyjama cord. And before you know where you are, if you do it properly, the wire will come out the other end. And at that point, you should measure the wire so it's exactly the same length as the foam, but if you haven't done that, just cut the wire a little bit like that, put another hook in it, and that's given you a wire core inside the foam. That's all you need for the legs, and the foam can't come off it. Well, that would be too short for the legs on a puppet. You'd want something about that length. That's good and long. Remember, it's going to be doubled over, so that'll be the right-hand leg, and that'll be the left-hand leg. So let's put that to one side and do the body. I'm going to make an ant. I want something with lots of legs because they jiggle around. Well, same foam, same sort of method of cutting. I've cut the ant's head there with its antennae. That's its body, nice and long for 3 pairs of legs, and I'll whack a tail onto it in a fairly rough fashion here. It's just to show you, after all, what we'd be going about. And mainly so that I've got something to show you how the legs would go on. Okay, well, say you had 3 of these for the three pairs of legs on the insect. Put them on one side, and always work from the same side, bend them around and cross them over. And there you've got rather ungainly legs. But of course they're not quite as ungainly when you put the kinks in them that ants have. Bend them up like that, down again, and put a foot on. Up, down, and you'll have to do a bit of bending and jiggling to get them in the right sort of position. Well, you'd finish the ant and then you'd put its lead on, and that needs wire of a different kind, fairly stiff wire. And here I've just got a short section for safety, but once again turn the end over and then bend it rather like a shepherd's crook, like that. And that can be used on the ant's neck. Push it like that, squeeze it together, and then just bend it so that you can hold it comfortably in your hand when it's walking along. Well, that looks a bit messy. Let's show the completed model. Lurking down here on the floor is Super Ant. You can see there the 3 pairs of legs, all nicely bent. There's its tail down the bottom and its head up the top. Rather better cut than the one I showed you before. And the lead wound around the neck. And when you put it down on the ground, make sure all the legs really do contact the ground. It works best on carpets, I think. And you can see that by twisting the handle, it can move its head around, it can rear up, and best of all, you can take your ant for a walk.